Okay, test, this is Jim. Are you okay? Speak again.
Test, this is Jim. Are you okay? I see I sound hollow or something, don't I?
Well, that's just out there, but...
Okay.
Anyway,
You
hi.
sound full.
Okay.
Hello? Hi.
Hello
Okay,
again, this is Jim Grisanzio from...
You're not gonna live stream it this time
No,
again?
we are live streaming right now.
Seriously?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay,
Hi guys.
so we're starting over.
We're starting over again.
We had some microphone issues. We're having some microphone issues
we have
with
to do
that
a
mic.
do-over again.
So we're going to do this all over again, the
Yeah.
whole thing. But no, seriously, I really value the time with you, and want to have a good quality, a decent, or at least with decent audio.
Yeah, audio. Not having good audio really kind of like sucks or whatever like that. What does it sound like now, do you think?
Okay, so let's just basically continue the conversation. So
Okay,
in the
sure.
first interview, we were talking a lot about unconferences and the Japan tour, and he shells off camera here.
He shells off camera, yeah.
And so you're here in Japan,
Yeah.
and you're going on this
Massive tour.
massive tour.
Yeah, we're going to visit all kinds of places. I don't know where, but we're
Right.
going there.
But you are a performance expert, performance tuning expert. You're also a
So they
Java
say.
champion. Yep.
Yes.
And so you're going to be meeting with, I guess about a dozen or so user groups
Yes.
around the country.
It's about a dozen or so?
More than that?
Yeah.
A dozen?
Yeah, a little bit here and there. Yeah, let's say
So-
a dozen. That sounds better. Okay.
So what are some of the issues that come up in these sessions that in terms of performance issues, in terms of tuning issues? You were talking a little bit earlier about these massive improvements in performance that you can get from these applications.
Right.
That seems like a very, very significant amount of change.
Yeah, I'd say that I can't see a problem that's actually bigger than that one. It's the one that's hidden. It's the one that no one sees, and it's massive. And I do mean massive. We've done all kinds of things. I guess, everyone. There's a lot of people that are saying that we want multi-core, we're going to do multi-threading, and we have to worry about like fencing, like write, read, write, whatever, read, all these little different barrier levels and stuff like that inside the CPU, and that's going to be really disruptive to processing, and on and on and on and on. And we said, what do we do when we single thread everything? Why? Well, because it's just cognitive overload to try to figure out all the possible things that can go wrong when you multi-thread something. Right, it's just freaking hard. I mean, if you look at Cliff Click, wrote this beautiful non-blocking concurrent hash map implementation. It was awesome, and yeah, it broke because there was a edge case in there that he didn't cover, and it corrupted data structures. And I would say that if Cliff can't get it right, there's nobody else that I know of that could possibly get it right, And so we just said, okay, well, that's just too hard. So we're just going to single thread everything, and and in the process of single threading things, we don't have to worry about the concurrency issue, but we still have to worry about all the other things that can happen. As it turns out, memory is, as I said, it's the number one biggest thing that everyone is suffering from. And as I said before, it's not visible because it's so evenly spread. You really can't see it until you start pulling data off of the diagnostic registers on the CPU.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when you start doing things like that, then you can actually start seeing these effects. But most people don't do that. I would bet you that most people don't even realize there are diagnostic registers on a CPU. Right?
Well, I might not know that.
What is a diagnostic register on a CPU? It's not to put anybody on the spot, but yeah. But yeah, so they're programmable diagnostic registers on a CPU, and you can actually program to count things for you. And so you have to consider cache hits, cache misses, instruction retirement rates, and things like that before these things actually start showing up. And then you sort of have to try to correlate that back to code. At which point it's like a good luck moment, right?
So is this, I mean, when you're talking about such significant performance improvements, I mean, this
Right.
should be, I'm just speculating here, this should be of great interest to every developer, because I mean,
One would
that's the
think.
difference. Well, one would think you're not, I mean, so that's not true?
No.
Why is that not true?
Well-
Because, I mean, you're talking about 80, 90%, that's a different application.
Most of the problems are completely baked into the software that we're using. Like completely baked in. So, I mean, if you look at the JVM, it's got the problem baked into it. So at that point, you can write code to manage the situation, but you can't get around the fact that it's baked into the JVM so easily. Now, there's ways of doing it, but your coding style now becomes very strange. It's not a natural way. It's not the way that we actually would model things in OO or in functional programming languages. And because of that, people just they just look at it. I got this business problem to solve, and yeah, okay, I can go faster, but who cares? Because I got to go pick up my kids at 5, and I got to get this algorithm out, or my boss is gonna be shouting at me. So thump, out comes the algorithm. It goes into production. It works. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, and the fact that your application might require 3 or 4x the amount of hardware to run, it's who cares, right? And in some respects, that's what I call an appropriate response, because if it really takes a lot more effort to not use the 3x more hardware, then it's from a cost benefit point of view. It's just a cost. It's like a cost, right? It's developer time or hardware time. What's cheaper?
Right.
Right? But when you start getting into massive scales, then that's when it starts making a difference, and that's when people come back and they start revisiting it and say okay, what can we really do here? Or if you were a first past the post, pick up the gold or go home type scenario, then that's when these things really start to matter, right? And in those cases, people will come back and they'll look at it and say, okay, well, we need to do things this way in order to manage it. But if I'm selling widgets on my website, then it's unlikely that that this is going to be the problem that really needs the attention, if you know what I mean, right? The fact that it takes 20 milliseconds longer for your page to load on your phone, right, is likely not going to bother you that much, is it?
Well, yeah, I couldn't even count 20 milliseconds. I wouldn't see that.
Right.
But
yeah. Exactly. But when you
if these things multiply-
when you get to a scale out situation, then
Right.
all of a sudden it's okay, now we got a problem.
Right.
So
as you travel around Japan, are these issues of interest to developers here?
I think they're of interest to a lot of developers
are-
once they recognize it.
Okay, but is not more here, less than some other areas?
No, it's
just-
fairly universal.
Yeah.
Like once people look at it and they see, once you show them how to see, then it's one of these things that you can't unsee it anymore.
I didn't think of a lot of things that.
Yeah, exactly. It's ooh, I wish I hadn't seen that,
hadn't
because
seen
now
that,
I
yeah.
can't see
You
that.
can't
I
get it
can't
out,
unsee
I know.
it. It's there. It's like everywhere you look, it's going ooh, it's there. Ooh, it's there. And that's really the problem, right? It's like, you'd say, it's like, do you want to know if you have the problem? Here's how you see it. And you go do this, pull up a tool, it shows you, it's like, bang, it's right there in your face. And then every time they do it, they get the same result. They go yeah. But until you do that,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so part of the tour here, part of the a group that you're going to go you're visiting the user groups, but part of this whole tour is the JOnsen in Kyushu.
Yes, the JOnsen in where is it? Where are we going?
I believe it's Kyushu. It's
awesome.
The southern part of it.
That's okay.
I keep on saying that, but I actually don't know because I'm not going this year.
Is that right? That's where we're going? I don't know. I'm just following him. He always knows where we're going, so I just follow him. Oh, well then I better not follow you. We'll end up in Chocolate Land or something. Okay, there we go.
This will be the third.
That's Andre's off camera.
That's Andre's right there.
Third year, yes.
Third year in Japan.
Right, and so I should go through the whole story again, right?
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, it's you started from JCrete and JOnsen and LavaOne. You said JSpirit and a couple of others.
J-Alpha.
J-Alpha.
Yeah, I've never been there either.
Okay. But there's a trend here, and there's a trend of this concept of doing these unconferences. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about.
Yeah, it was really cool. Because like in Kelowna, where I'm from, there's a group of people started this thing called like DevKL, KL for Kelowna or whatever like that. So developers come in the morning, right? And so it's like, you know how you have the jug groups that basically the speaker flies in from parts unknown, and then gives the massive from the Sermon Mount talk about the next latest improvement in the Wonder framework, right? Here's the silver bullet coming out. So DevKL, instead of doing that, they decided to actually what I would call like a slow motion unconference. So they have one meeting every 2 weeks, all right? And they have all the elements of they're developing all the elements of an unconference, all right? So they basically have a marketplace where you can get ideas from, and they assemble the ideas into like a launch pad, and they put the launch pad onto the schedule. And then the next meeting, they'll take the item out of the schedule, and basically that will be the topic of the day.
Interesting.
Right? So they're doing that as a user group thing, which is really kind of fun, right? It's like I said, it's an unconference in slow motion.
So you don't necessarily have to have the same format then.
No,
people can innovate around.
No, because so we came up with the JCrete format, and I think I discussed, you say we're about 130 people, which is I think about as big as we can scale, because of you want people to be able to interact with everybody, and then once you get beyond village size, that's impossible. And as we've grown, we've had to change our model and adapt it, so we know where the stress points are. So 2 years ago, I basically took our organizers out into the middle of the sea, swimming, because I figured that's a place where they really can't attack you when you destroy their worldview. They're too busy trying to stay up, and so I went out there. And I said, you know how we do the whole people come up, present, you give them the sticky, present, and then that forms our marketplace of ideas. And I said that's not going to scale. We just can't do that anymore. We need a throttle, and I wanted a natural throttle, not an artificial throttle. Well, I mean they're all artificial, but I said let's limit this by saying stickies are the currency by which you can throttle things. So we just limited the number of stickies that we gave out. Okay, and that basically naturally throttled the whole thing. We got rid of a lot of the what I call single-threadedness of the whole thing. So we looked at it and said, well, we have one person doing this. So let's just let everybody at the board and massively just rearrange things however everybody wants to rearrange things. Okay, so like massive, and there was really some bad objections. I mean, if I had been on solid ground, I would have been in trouble. But the fact that I could swim faster than them was, a bonus. And so, because they were really objecting, you can't do that, it's completely disorganized. That's what an unconference is.
But this concept of bar camp has been around for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I've been doing bar camps. We did bar camps, 10 years ago.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not a new idea.
It's
it's just we decided. I mean, the whole thing for JCrete really came from a conference that was being done, or well, an unconference that was being done in Colorado, right? With, and I should remember the name. Gosh, okay. This is when my jet lag kicks in. Bruce, yes, Bruce. Thank you. It was Bruce Eckel, right? He started this whole thing, where he said, "Let's just get guys together and just have some fun and talk about tech."
I think I've heard about this conference.
Right, and it's, and so we took that and we put some more structure around it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more structured but less structured, and we tore it down a bit and changed it and adapted it. JAlba, JSpirit, LavaOne, JOnsen, they all did the same thing. They took the core ideas, but then they stripped it down and localized it or personalized it to how they wanted their conference to look. Yeah. What their look and feel was.
One of the interesting things for me, I'm not a coder, but I can participate. I can actually participate in these unconferences. I got something to offer. I can help organizing. I can do lots of things.
Oh no, you can do better at JCrete.
What can I do at JCrete?
You can actually propose your own sessions.
Oh, okay.
And convene them. And we've had. So JCrete. One of the things we wanted to do was we wanted to create a family-friendly, oriented place where people could bring the entire family.
Yeah, I noticed in the video that you guys have, the people actually bringing their whole families.
Right, exactly. So which one was that? The Oracle produced one, or is one that because I threw together?
The one that you did.
Right. Okay. So that's an interesting video. The last one we did, which is really interesting. All I did was I had a bunch of video clips and photographs, and everybody had photographs, and they were all up and everything like that. And one of the ladies who attends, we gave it to her 17-year-old daughter. So it's her third time at the conference. Okay, and this is a really fantastic story, right? She produced the video. She took all this material together and produced the last video.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was really fun. But first conference she came, she was just sort of like hanging around, see what's going on, just like, just sort of on the edge. Second one, she was just sitting in sessions, quiet, sitting in sessions. Third one, she was actually participating in sessions, right? By the time she's 17, she's really there, engaging in some of the conversations. Maybe not some of the deeper technical ones, but the ones where she could manage and everything like that. Right. Then she went back home to Colorado, and in her high school, she started a club where she could actually have this type of activity.
Wow.
In the school.
Excellent.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
It's really fun. And there's so many other things that...
Yeah, because you can bring the concept into other fields very, very easily.
Absolutely. That's exactly what she did. Yeah. And we have all kinds of other just like little interesting twists and stories about... I think I mentioned JitWatch in the earlier one, right? JitWatch was inspired by conversations that one guy had with some of the hotspot engineers that were at JCrete. And so in his half-hour rides on the train in London, he bloody put together this tool. It's an awesome tool. And it's the preferred tool for people to actually understand what's going on inside their JVM. And we have people who've become speakers because we had this safe environment there, and so people were actually able to test the waters a bit. Not really, it's not a place where you do a presentation, but you're convening and you're interacting in a group, and it's just one of those things where people say like, oh yeah, okay, now I feel like I have enough confidence, I can go to the next step. There's been technology spin-outs affecting JDK, JVM. So there's a lot of really good things that have come out of it, but I think some of the more interesting has been back a bit. Is that we've had one guy came in with his partner who's a clinical psychologist, and she said, "Oh, I can do a group dynamic thing."
Oh. With
technical writers in. They say, "Oh, let's do a session on just technical writing." Right? Last year had some local physiotherapists in. He came in on ergonomics and things like that.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, that affects coders, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Coding and sitting all day is actually very, very hard on the body. It does all kinds of really nasty things to you, and if you don't look after it over time, it can be debilitating.
Yeah.
So look at me. So I'm completely debilitated here because of this. but anyways, so the point is that there's room for spouses, significant others, and even the children to somehow get involved. The last day's a hack day, and sometimes the kids were in there, basically just hacking around on the Lego things and stuff like that. We have afterwards a kids event in Hanya and then in Harakilan, which is like 2 cities on the island of Crete. So there's a whole bunch of different things going on, and I think it was that enthusiasm, I think, and what Chris Thalringer saw there that actually inspired him to start to convert LavaOne from instead of building a full-blown conference to actually convert it and have it run as an unconference.
Right.
So we convinced him to come and see, and when he was there, he really liked the format.
Yeah, he was here in Japan last year as well.
Yeah,
so
and he was at JOnsen.
That's where we would all.
That's where I did the conversation with him. I said, you have to come to JCrete, then you'll see.
JCrete,
Yeah.
which
Said,
follows Japan.
Yeah.
And then we were all disappointed because you couldn't make it to LavaOne in January. But
that's another story.
We're already halfway through the year, so
that's pretty cool. Anyways.
So let's end up with anything interesting projects going on in the Java community.
Well, okay, so as I said before, I think we're on an Oracle channel here, so we have to be nice to Oracle, right? No, just kidding. We're always nice to Oracle. I think, the thing is, like, there's been what I call a number of disruptive changes in the Java space and one of them has to be licensing. And what's happened with licensing, and I think it's given us an opportunity, a great opportunity that everybody's sort of like pushed out into to OpenJDK. The London Java community actually came together and they took OpenJDK and said, let's start providing binaries of this. And so it's a complete community-run project to provide binaries, J9, hotspot, Growl, right? So all these binaries are available for people to use, and the nice thing about it is that it's not attached to any commercial organization. It's all completely done by the community. So it's a great effort. We've just recently passed 30 million downloads, and that's happened very quickly. I think we were talking about it earlier. We went from 20 to 25 to 30. I didn't even actually realize that it happened. I was just talking to first one of our guys, George, who is involved in the project as a co-founder, and my partner Martin is also co-founder of this particular effort. And I was talking to George. He says 20, and I said, "Oh, write something." We put it out on InfoQ or something like that to say this is cool, right? And by the time he gets to it, it's like we're at 25 million. And just yesterday, a couple of weeks later, we're at 30 million. So we're really seeing a huge uptake of binaries being downloaded from the Adopt project right now.
Cool.
It's really awesome. And we're getting a lot of commercial support for it, or a lot of support from commercial companies. Oracle obviously has been a supporter of it. IBM has been a supporter of it. Companies like Pivotal, Google, Goldman Sachs, I believe is in there. We have a whole list of companies that have actually come in and offered various levels of support for the project. So,
excellent.
Yeah, I think the next level of support is probably going to come from governments looking to support what I call public infrastructure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, Kurt, thank you very much. You've been a good sport. We had a dead microphone here.
Yeah.
So we just did the interview again.
Yeah, that's cool.
Appreciate it. And I promise I won't interview now for at least a year. So we give you some space.
I don't know. That's a nice promise, right? It was like, yeah.
Taking all your time.
Don't come back.
No,
we're not inviting you back, that's for sure.
So
what did I say?
What
did I say? Thank you very much. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Good to have you there.
We'll be back for more interviews here. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. There we go.